Well, good morning. This is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred. It's a beautiful day here in Pennsylvania. You know, we're early July and you know the plants have really been growing out here in the garden, especially those tomato plants. You know, they're heat lover plants. And so today I wanted to share with you some tips and ideas on how to prune your indeterminate tomato plants. So thanks for joining me today out here in the vegetable garden. So I'm over here where my indeterminate tomato plants are. You know, I have them supported by my rope and twist method that I call it. You know, I simply tie the rope around the base of the plant and I attach it to my 2x4 support, and then I just twist it, the rope around this plant as it grows and matures. I did a video about how to support, or at least how I support my tomato plants. And so here along my raised bed here I have 7 of my indeterminate tomato plants. And indeterminate tomato plants mean they just keep on growing right up until the frost. They're a vining tomato plant. You know, I had some sun gold cherry tomatoes growing up on my outdoor garden structure last year, and they grew up the side, over the top, and then down the other side, and they were 14 feet long. And so, but these here, I'll let them grow probably until sometime in September. I'm going to then just prune the leader on so it's on the very end of the plant, so it doesn't continue to grow up and over the horizontal 2x4 support that I have here. And so let's take a closer look at these plants and see where you need to prune those suckers between the stem and the leaf. Hi Billy, he likes staying in the shade on these sunny days. But anyhow, here in front of me I have the indeterminate tomato plant, and again the other type is the determinate tomato plant, which is bush type tomatoes, and I have them growing in another section of my garden. But you can see here how I have the rope twisted around the plant to help support it. But in between, you know, you have the main trunk coming up. Technically it's called the stem, and then also you have the leaf coming off the side. You could call the main stem a trunk and this a branch, you could even say. But here in the corner it's called the crotch or the axle. But you can see what's developing is a sucker here right in the crotch area. And so these suckers are the ones that you want to nip off. And you can just, I work them back and forth in 2 directions. And they come right off. Maybe some of the larger ones you could even use a knife. But for me, most of them snap off real easily. And I come through my garden here, these tomato plants, and do them about once a week. And so I rock it back and forth, and it just cuts it off, breaks it off. Because these suckers will, if you just let them go, they're going to develop into another stem, and then off of that will be the leaves or the branches, and then you also have, you know, your tomato trusses growing. And so you can see I have another one growing right here that needs to be cut off or nipped off. And so you only want to do these to the indeterminate tomato plants. If you have determinate tomato plants, you don't want to prune those. Let's go take a look at some of my determinate tomato plants that you don't want to prune. And so we just came from over that area back there, and this is my 18-foot by 30-foot garden section. But I have here like 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of 7 tomato plants, and these are the bush variety or the Indeterminate variety, and these you don't want to prune. You just let them grow, and you know, these aren't a vining type plant, so they're only going to get 3 feet, maybe 42 inches, maybe a little bit more, and I end up supporting these bush type tomatoes with my heavy duty tomato cage. For me, I have just found that to be the easiest method to support these bush type tomatoes. So let's head back over to the other tomato plant area. Also, when you're pruning your tomato plants, it's always a good idea to prune your lower branches too. And you know, the whole idea of pruning is that, you know, by pruning these suckers, it's going to send more energy to the fruit. And so you can see right here in front of me, this is a fairly large sucker that I just took off. But you know, it's always a good idea again to keep the lower branches trimmed on your tomato plants so you get better airflow. So you can see back here I have one developing on this at the base of this plant, and so what I'm going to do is get my penknife and cut off branches like that, kind of like be a surgeon and just amputate those branches. But it's a good idea to keep you know, a good 10 inches or more of the branches pruned from the base of your plant so you get good airflow around each of your plants. And you can see, like right here, I have another little sucker developing. And then, you know, you have, these are your tomato trusses right here. But you also want to make sure you don't prune the main leader, which would be right here. Otherwise the plant will stop growing. And but anyhow, these are the indeterminate vining tomatoes plants, and I'm gonna let them grow right up to the top of my structure. And then once they get up there, I'm gonna prune the leader off of that each plant so they don't grow any taller than the support structure up top. And so what else I thought I would do is I'm going to take you over to my garden structure. I'm going to show you where I have a sun gold cherry tomato plant growing on the end of that, and also my arbors, my cattle panel trellis. I have a tomato plant that I'm growing and training up that. So let's go take a look at those plants. And so over there on the other side of my garden structure there is where I have that sun gold cherry tomato plant growing up on the rope and twist method. So let's go take a look at that plant. And so right over here in the end is where I have a nice sun gold cherry tomato plant growing. I grow one here every year. But anyhow, I just finished pruning this sun gold cherry tomato plant, and you can see how nice it's been growing. Has some nice looking tomato trusses there. I have been able to pick some of the cherry tomatoes along the bottom. There's one that's pretty ripe. But this sun gold cherry tomato plant is just going to continue. I'm going to let it continue to grow right up the arbor there and over the top. And then I'm going to not prune it once it gets up near the top. And so it's going to just put out a beautiful arrangement of tomatoes there, because and what they'll do is they'll hang down inside my outdoor shower stall so I can eat tomatoes while I'm taking a shower. But behind me is where my cattle panel trellis is, and where I'm training some other tomatoes up. Let's go take a look at that area. And so that cattle panel trellis is right here as an entrance to my potato patch area. I did a video on how you could install this cattle panel trellis for like $22 for the panel, and then you have to buy some fence T-posts. But so far it's really been working out real nice, having that as a gateway to my garden here. But at the base of this I planted 2 sun gold cherry tomatoes. something I would encourage you to do. And so what I'm doing again is just training this, tying it with some small pieces of rope so it goes right up the trellis and over the top and down the other side. But this particular one I'm not pruning, I'm just letting these suckers develop. Let's take a look at a couple of these suckers. And so here's a sucker here. This is the main stem, but these are suckers, but I'm just going to let them grow and develop, because off of these suckers this will become the main stem, and then these are the leaves, and then off of that you'll have some, you can see there's already some tomato trusses developing right there. And so like I said, I'm not really going to be pruning these. I'm just going to let them go wild and do their thing, and the harvest on these will be tenfold. You can also see that they're starting to hang over the inside, and why I need to tie these up to the cattle panel trellis. But this is going to be a nice fun archway to this garden section here. So as I walk through it, you know, it'll be like an edible vine. And so I hope this video was able to give you some tips and ideas on how to prune your indeterminate vining tomato plants. And if you have any questions or comments about this video, feel free to leave them in the section below. And you know, it's always fun working out in the garden. If you're a gardener, I'm sure you understand, you know, it's a wonderful time to get away from these busy schedules we have. It's always peaceful and relaxing and therapeutic, as I put it, to spend time out here, you know, in God's creations, you know. And so it's always fun being out in the garden too, because you get to watch the progress from day by day or week by week as these plants grow, you know. And once the soil warms up, you know, the soil microbes really begin to break down the nutrients for the plants, and you know, they really start to take off this time of year, being it's early July here in Pennsylvania. So anyhow, I just want to thank you for joining me today out here in the garden. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to leave them in the section below. So until next time, this is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred.